Let's go off the charts as a part of the ML Sports Platter. It's all brought to you by CH Insurance in your corner. And of course, you can get your insurance packages today at chinsurance.cc. So delighted to bring onto the program the head women's basketball coach for the Indiana Fever and the WNBA, a decorated career herself, of course, doing awesome work as an analyst for ESPN, the Big Ten networks for a long time as well. It's Stephanie White. I had a chance to see you at the Dome as well. Steph, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. Love the background, by the way. And you had a heck of a career as a player, right? You go high school into college, into the pros, and there's the hype and the expectation, the hometown girl, and you had all the awards. You won a title at Purdue, the most outstanding player in the Final Four. How did you handle the hype expectation train? Because technically you not only met it, but you exceeded it. And somebody even on your team who's got a little of that going on too, right? With Caitlin. So how did you deal with it, transition into Caitlin Clark? And do you two talk about that, kind of weave that together?
Yeah, it's I was fortunate to do it at a time where there wasn't social media, right? There wasn't as much there weren't as many eyes, there wasn't as much I would say negativity surrounding a lot of what I was doing at the time. It was growing up in a fishbowl essentially, and I consider myself a community project. Came from a small town in Indiana. Growing up, I knew I wanted to play college basketball. At the time, people thought you had to go to big schools to do that, and I was fortunate to be able to have a whole entire community behind me that kind of helped raise me and help put me in position for success. And also as a result of that, all eyes are on you. You're always being watched, you're always being critiqued. But at the same time, I think for me, back then, it was more supportive, right? It was more
Mhm.
lifting you up. And transitioning that to today and what Caitlin's going through, I mean, it's a totally different ballgame. I
Yeah.
think that being a player in the state of Indiana, I can help navigate her in a way that most of us, as we grow through life, can help in. Like, hey, it's important to protect your peace. You don't have to be on social media. You don't have to engage with all of these things. Be who you are. Continue to because I think Caitlin has handled it amazingly well. Continue to do what you do, right? And I think for us, as coaches, for me as someone who's gone through it on a different level, just continuing to reiterate that point of, hey, there are times where you have to find ways to decompress and protect yourself and protect your peace. You are always going to be an outstanding athlete. You're always going to be an amazing person. But you have to find ways to fill your cup, right? And you have to find ways to keep you sane, for lack of a better term. So I think that's the biggest thing. We've had very few conversations about that early. It's more just checking in and making sure that she's doing okay. But as we continue to go through this process, I want to be a resource, and I want our coaching staff to be a resource for her.
I think it's incredible that you have that background that you can help someone today with it. I really do. I think that helps a ton. And I remember covering the Hall of Fame induction and Joe Mauer. It's kind of the same thing as you in a way, like the hometown kid. He plays for the Twins his whole career, the pressure and everything. He plays catcher. He goes to first base. I mean, it's on the magazines, all the pressure, ticket requests, family there all the time. I mean, that to me seems like a really, really hard gig. So hats off to you for a hell of a career. I want to move to the game right now. I mean, it is unbelievable, I think. I've covered women's basketball for a long time, going back to my Bonaventure days with Jim Crowley's team and the A10. Dawn Staley way back then was at Temple, as you know. So that's going
That's
back
right.
for me, right? So, but the game right now, I think it's on a heater. I do. I mean, the ratings are crazy good. The arenas are packed. The college game is great. Hidalgo, and another great player at Notre Dame this year. Tons of competition. Caitlin Clark, of course, the recent stuff. You're living it. You're breathing it. You're sleeping it every single day. You're in the middle of it, and you're calling games as well. Do you feel that? Do you feel the game on a big time heater right now? Ratings are up. Do you feel every day the momentum?
Yeah, certainly we do. I think that this is when I was a player and when I was a coach, a young coach in the early days. This is what we envisioned. Why couldn't we be like this? Because it's an amazing game, and I think our board of governors and our rules committees have always done a really good job of trying to keep up with the trends. I'll never forget when women's college basketball went from 2 halves to 4 quarters, and the reasoning behind it, to speed up the game, to get a faster pace, to have more possessions, to have more scoring. And it has gotten us to that point. I think we have an exciting brand of basketball. I think we have terrific players. Obviously, we have the best players in the world in the WNBA. The 24-second shot clock in the W, with the 14-second reset. So it is a game that is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be fast paced. It's meant to keep you on your toes. And when you intersect the star power that we have now, and look, there have always been great players, right? There have been generational players. Not everyone has seen them. And the intersection of these star players with engagement with their fans, whether it be through social media, whether it be in communities. And again, I say that during COVID, we couldn't go out, right? Everybody had to stay inside. It was the summertime, and the WNBA in the bubble that year, because most of the time we compete with all the summertime activities, right? You want to be out and about. You're not always watching television during that time. We got new fans during that time frame, people who hadn't seen the WNBA before, people who were engaged then in a way that they had not been before. And so I think that spearheaded another movement for us, to be ready for this moment where it's just basketball is basketball. The best players in the world are competing day in and day out. The game is at an all-time high in how it's being played, how it's being coached, and it's the perfect opportunity for us to continue to showcase, what we have always known to be true about women's basketball.
Couple more for Stephanie White as we go off the charts with the head women's basketball coach of the Indiana Fever, of course, a color analyst covering the game today as well, brought to you by CH Insurance. They are in your corner. Give me the best and the worst of NIL. And I know if you're playing today, we joked at the Dome, you'd be collecting a bunch, huh? You'd be getting those big bags. I know you would be.
Yeah, I need to know if we can go for back pay right here. This is, I think the best thing is that, look, there has to be some sort of compensation. I don't, people smarter than me have to find out what the answer to that is and how you go about doing that. But I do think that these athletes deserve something. You think back in the day, we were just getting by, really. You're not eating well, you're not resting well, you're not getting all of the, it's a different game. It's a different mindset. They are making a lot of money for their universities. They deserve to be compensated in some way, shape, or form. I think the worst of NIL, in a simple frame, is it's pay for play. I know it's not intended to be that, but it has become that. And I think that's the worst part of it. It is professional sports. It is pay for play. I don't think that there's a lot of accountability to a team or loyalty to a university. I think it's really tough for coaches. I think it's really tough for fans when you never know who's going to be on your team from year to year. It's just it's become a different kind of monster.
That's my biggest problem with it, is the connection for everyone. Coaches building rosters, teammates to teammates, fans following the game. Sorry, media people, it's tough to follow. The interest doesn't stay as much. A 9:00 game, and maybe I don't want to watch that because I don't know any of the players. I mean, it's just because. And by the way, when people think of you, what college do they think of? One.
Yeah.
Right? When they think, I mean, some of these players have played at 2, 3, 4 different colleges, Stephanie. I remember when people used to call my show years ago in Syracuse and they say, I'm not paying for season tickets anymore. These guys are all going to the NBA, one and done. Malachi Richardson, Tyler Lydon, they'd love one and done right now. They'd love one and done to be the problem, considering these guys are hopping on all these lily pads every year, It's crazy.
No question about it. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I guess the final thing I wanted to ask you is maybe you could kind of give me a little synopsis on your club, preseason coming up here, a little season preview, a little WNBA, some Bree Stewart, of course, coming up too in one of my favorites. Yeah. She grew up, about 5 minutes away from where I'm sitting right now. So little WNBA, maybe put your analyst hat on and put your coach hat on for your club too.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our club. We did really well in free agency and we addressed some issues that we needed to address. certainly getting some veteran players who have championship experience and leadership experience that can plug some holes for us where we needed it. I think our ability to stretch the floor, our ability to shoot the three, our ability to play with pace. I mean, we got to surround our big three, with Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, and we got to surround them with great veteran players that complement them. And I think that we've done that. And the second thing, and I thought this was going to take another year to be able to do that, we've really developed our quality depth. And oftentimes, if you're trying to address two issues in free agency or two issues in an offseason, you only get one, right? And that was free agency and depth for us. And we were fortunate to be able to do both. So I think it puts us in a position to compete. Now, it's our job as coaches to make sure that we can build that chemistry early, to figure out, which players play best with one another, figure out our rotations, what they look like. It's important in our league. We play 44 games this year. We played 40 a year ago, in a short, compact period of time that we got to make sure that we're efficient through 4 quarters and we're efficient through an entire season. So playing players, 36, 37, 38 minutes a ball game isn't to our advantage all the time. And so now being able to build out that quality depth to be able to get our players some quality rest in game is going to be critical for us. So I think it puts us in a good position. I like our group. I'm excited to get to work with them once everybody gets back into town. I think the W as a whole, I mean, certainly you've got the returning champs that are going to be front runners. I mean, your Brianna Stewart, New York Liberty. They're still the New York Liberty. They still have Brianna Stewart. They're still going to be terrific. Jonquel Jones on the interior, Sabrina Ionescu. So they've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of depth. They're gonna certainly be a front runner. Minnesota returns most of their squad as well, and I think Nafisa Collier is playing as well as anybody in the world right now. So they're going to be excellent again. Obviously Las Vegas with the best player in the world and Asia Wilson are going to be great. They added Jewel Lloyd, so I think that makes them just as tough. And there's a lot of new faces everywhere. I think LA is going to be intriguing with Kelsey Plum added to that young front court. I think that they're going to be intriguing as well. There's been a lot of change in the W in the offseason. New coaches, new players, new places. So new systems for them to learn. I think the biggest thing and the most important thing is always, number one, how quickly can you gel? And number two, can you stay healthy throughout the course of an entire season? So I'm excited about this season. I'm excited about our group. So if your listeners get an opportunity to check us out, would love for that to happen. We've got a good group, and I think we got a lot of potential for this year.
No doubt. Head women's basketball coach, Indiana Fever, of course, also doing great analyst work, ESPN and the Big Ten networks. Awesome to meet you, Stephanie White in Syracuse at the Dome for a game. Thanks for going off the charts with us here. Brought to you by CH Insurance. And hopefully I'll see you down the line at a game. And hey, tell Caitlin Clark she's next on the show. We'll get her on, okay?
I got you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.